All right, so get this. Just days before his second inauguration, Donald Trump drops a bombshell.
A bombshell.
His own cryptocurrency, the Trumpy coin.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? And you're interested in how politics and finance and meme culture are all swirling around this thing.
Yeah.
So let's dive into these sources you've provided
Okay.
and see what we can untangle.
Sounds good.
We've got a document that lays out the coin's launch.
Okay.
And another that's packed with, shall we say, imaginative theories about its purpose.
Interesting.
Very imaginative.
Yeah.
What's immediately striking is how this launch taps into so many current anxieties.
It really does.
Is this a savvy business move, a political power play, or something completely different?
I mean, yeah, everyone's trying to figure out what's going on here. Like,
Yeah.
what is he doing?
So let's start with the basics from the Trump Coin Enigma document.
Oh.
It launched on January 17th, 2025,
Right.
just days before the inauguration.
Uh-huh.
Announced on Truth Social, of course.
Of course.
It's built on the Solana blockchain, which, by the way, is known for its speed and ability to handle a ton of transactions.
That's interesting.
That could be a hint about how they expect this coin to be used.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Maybe aiming for fast trading and widespread adoption?
So you're saying that choosing Solana over other blockchains suggests they're thinking about more than just a novelty meme coin?
Yeah, exactly.
That is interesting.
Okay, and here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
There are 1 billion True coins total, but only 200 million were available at launch.
Wow.
And get this, 80% of the supply is owned by 2 companies.
2 companies.
CIC Digital LLC and Fight LLC.
Oh, my gosh.
Both linked to the Trump Organization.
That's a pretty unusual ownership structure, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That concentration of ownership raises a lot of questions about the motivations behind this venture.
Yeah.
It's not your typical cryptocurrency setup.
Right.
And of course, we have to look at what happened when the coin actually hit the market.
Yeah. What?
Right. This document talks about a meteoric rise right out of the gate.
Okay.
Over 300% increase in value.
Wow.
It hit a market cap of $8 billion.
$8 billion?
Basically, the total value of all the coins in circulation
Right.
and trading volume was almost $1 billion.
$1 billion.
To put that in perspective,
Yeah.
for a meme coin, especially one tied to such a polarizing figure, those numbers are huge EE.
Those numbers definitely reflect the power of Trump's brand, but also the speculative frenzy that often surrounds meme coins.
Yeah, I mean...
Think about it, limited supply.
Yeah.
Sudden influx of Trump supporters wanting to buy in.
Uh-huh.
Classic recipe for a price surge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's what happens next that's really going to tell the story.
Okay, so we've got this explosive launch, but why a meme coin?
Yeah, why?
That's where things take a turn toward speculation.
Okay.
And you know how our listener loves to explore those what-if scenarios?
Right.
The second source document is full of conspiracy theories about the Trumpist coin's true purpose. Now, we're not saying any of these are true,
Sure.
but they definitely make you think.
Ah, yes. The conspiracy theory is always a fascinating window into public anxieties. It's important to remember that these are just theories, but sometimes even far-fetched ideas can point to real underlying concerns.
Exactly.
So what are some of them?
So buckle up, because some of these are pretty wild.
Yeah.
One theory is that the Trump key coin is actually a secret campaign fund for a potential 2028 run.
For 2028.
Yeah, they point to what they call a wallet trail.
A wallet trail.
Basically following the movement of the coins.
I see.
That supposedly connects early investors to big-time donors who've backed Trump before.
Oh, wow.
A digital slush fund, if you will.
That would certainly be a novel approach to campaign financing.
Yeah.
But remember, campaign finance laws are pretty strict.
Right.
It would be a risky move, to say the least.
Yeah, very risky.
Very.
Then there's the Patriot data harvest theory.
Okay.
A little ominous, right?
A little bit.
The idea is that the coin is a way to gather data on Trump supporters.
Interesting.
You have to register on Trump-affiliated platforms to use it.
Okay.
So the theory goes that they're scooping up personal info, political views, maybe even spending habits.
Wow.
Some are even comparing it to the Cambridge Analytica scandal.
Now, that theory taps into a genuine concern about data privacy in the digital age.
Right.
Especially as cryptocurrency becomes more mainstream.
Yeah.
It's worth thinking about how these new technologies can be used to collect and potentially exploit personal information.
Right. And then we have the crypto coup theory,
It's crypto coup.
which suggests Trump is using Trump P to overthrow the financial system.
Overthrow the financial system.
He's been critical of central banks before.
Right.
So the idea is he's pushing for decentralized currency to replace the U.S. dollar.
Wow.
Pretty dramatic stuff.
That theory aligns with a certain anti-establishment sentiment that we see in some segments of the population. Whether it's realistic or not is another question, but it reflects a distrust of traditional financial institutions.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also the pump and policy theory.
Pump and policy.
The idea is that Trump, once back in office, will make policy decisions,
Right.
like executive orders or tax breaks, that specifically benefit anyone holding Trezeguet,
Oh, wow.
driving up its value.
So basically, insider trading on a presidential scale.
It is.
That theory hinges on the assumption that Trump would use his political power for personal gain.
Yeah.
A serious accusation and one that would require substantial evidence to be taken seriously.
And those are just a few of the theories.
Oh, my goodness.
We've also got claims about foreign agent involvement,
Wow.
secret gold backing, you name it.
It seems like the Trump coin has become a blank canvas for all sorts of anxieties and suspicions.
It really has.
It's fascinating how this one event can spark such diverse reactions.
Yeah.
It tells us a lot about the cultural and political landscape we're living in. But before we get too lost in the speculation, let's remember that there are very real, concrete consequences to consider as well.
You're right. Beyond the conspiracy theories, there are serious ethical and legal questions about a former president launching a cryptocurrency venture right before taking office again.
Yeah, it's true.
This isn't just about wild speculation. It's about the potential for real-world conflicts of interest and the abuse of power.
Exactly. And those are issues we need to unpack carefully because they have implications far beyond the Trump coin itself.
Definitely. We were just talking about those ethical and legal concerns. I mean, it's pretty unprecedented for a former president, especially one about to be president again, to have such a large stake in a cryptocurrency.
Yeah,
Doesn't that just scream conflict of interest?
it certainly raises serious questions. Imagine this. Trump back in the Oval Office makes a decision about, say, regulating cryptocurrency. That decision could directly impact the value of the Trump coin, potentially making him a lot of money.
Okay, that's a pretty clear example, but couldn't it go even further?
Further,
Could foreign governments or companies try to influence U.S. policy by investing in Trump Bitcoin?
oh,
It's like a whole new way to try and buy favors.
that's a valid concern. It
Yeah.
creates a perception, even if nothing inappropriate is happening, that access to the president could be tied to the performance of this cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
It muddies the waters and erodes public trust.
Right. It just doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't.
And what about campaign finance laws?
Yeah.
Could people be funneling money to Trump's future campaigns through the Trump coin, sidestepping the usual donation rules?
That's a question legal experts are already debating. Campaign finance regulations are complex, and cryptocurrency throws a whole new wrench into the system.
Yeah.
This case could set a precedent for how we handle these issues in the future.
It seems like we're in uncharted territory here. There really aren't any clear rules about how to handle a situation like this.
You're right. Our current laws and regulations weren't designed with this kind of scenario in mind. This situation could force lawmakers to rethink how we regulate the intersection of politics and cryptocurrency, potentially leading to a whole new set of rules.
So what does all this mean for the future of cryptocurrency regulation? Could the Trump MP coin saga actually end up changing the whole landscape?
It's definitely possible. This case has put a spotlight on the need for clearer guidelines and regulations in the crypto space. It's already a hot topic with concerns about money laundering, market manipulation, and investor protection. Add in the political dimension, and it becomes clear that we need to adapt our legal framework to this new reality.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, and I have to admit, I'm a bit worried about the potential consequences if things aren't addressed soon.
I understand your concern. The lack of clear rules creates a breeding ground for bad actors. That's why it's so important to have open and transparent discussions about these issues. We need to engage with lawmakers, industry leaders, and experts to find ways to mitigate the risks while also allowing for innovation and growth in the crypto space.
Okay, so we've covered the potential for conflicts of interest, the impact on campaign finance laws, and the need for clearer regulations. But what about those conspiracy theories surrounding the Trump coin? Are any of them actually plausible? Or are they just, as you put it earlier, a window into public anxieties?
It's tempting to dismiss all conspiracy theories as outlandish, but I think it's more helpful to view them as a reflection of deeper societal concerns. Even if the theories themselves aren't credible, they can tell us a lot about the fears and distrust that many people are feeling.
So let's take another look at some of those theories. The digital election fund theory, for example. Could the Trump coin really be a secret way to funnel money into future campaigns?
It's an intriguing idea, but it faces significant obstacles. Campaign finance laws are designed to prevent exactly this type of hidden funding, and any attempt to circumvent them would carry substantial legal risk.
But what about the wallet trail that supposedly connects early investors to Trump's previous mega donors? Couldn't that be seen as evidence?
Not necessarily. It's possible that some of Trump's wealthy supporters invested in the Trump coin simply because they believe in it or see it as a good investment. That doesn't automatically make it a covert campaign finance scheme.
Okay, so maybe that one is a bit far-fetched. What about the Patriot data harvest theory? Is it really possible that the Trump coin is being used to collect data on Trump supporters and potentially manipulate them?
This theory aligns with growing concerns about data privacy and the potential misuse of personal information, especially in the context of digital technologies.
Right, we saw how data was used in the Cambridge Analytica scandal, so it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
It's exactly. If the Trump coin ecosystem requires users to provide personal information, there's always a risk this data could be collected and used for purposes other than what was intended, whether that's targeted advertising, political manipulation, or something else entirely.
It's a sobering thought. And then there's the crypto coup theory, which suggests that Trump is using the Trump coin to undermine the US dollar and the Federal Reserve. Do you think there's any chance that's true?
While it's true that Trump has expressed skepticism about the Federal Reserve in the past, I think it's highly unlikely that he would intentionally try to destabilize the U.S. dollar.
But what about those reports of massive Trump coin purchases by anonymous entities that could be linked to foreign governments? Isn't that a bit suspicious?
It's certainly something to keep an eye on, but without concrete evidence, it's difficult to say for sure what's behind those large purchases. We need more transparency in the cryptocurrency market to track these kinds of transactions and understand their implications.
Okay, so we need to be cautious about jumping to conclusions. Let's move on to the pump and policy theory. Could Trump really manipulate the value of the Trump coin through policy decisions once he's back in office?
That theory rests on the assumption that Trump would use his political power for personal financial gain, which is a serious accusation.
Right. It would be a huge scandal if it turned out to be true.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the potential for unintended consequences. Any attempt to manipulate the cryptocurrency market could backfire and lead to market instability, ultimately harming everyone involved.
So we've got all these theories, some more plausible than others, but none of them seem to have a smoking gun. Is it possible that the truth is actually much simpler? Could the Trump coin just be a way for Trump to cash in on his brand and stay relevant in the digital age?
That's certainly a possibility. Trump has always been a master of branding and marketing, and cryptocurrency offers a new frontier for him to exploit.
Right. It wouldn't be surprising if this is just another business venture for him. But there's one theory that I find particularly intriguing because it connects to something we know Trump excels at: social media and mobilizing his base. I'm talking about the meme army manipulation theory.
Ah, yes, the idea that the Trump coin is less about cryptocurrency and more about creating a digital cult of personality.
Exactly. The theory suggests that Trump coin holders will get special access to Trump, maybe exclusive content, direct messages, even voting rights on Trump-backed policies. It's like a digital loyalty program for his most devoted supporters.
It's a compelling idea because it plays to Trump's strengths.
Right.
We've already seen how effectively he can use social media to build a following and influence public opinion.
Right. And remember those meme campaigns promoting Trump that were linked to troll farms and accounts involved in election interference? It seems like there's already an effort to manipulate online communities around this coin.
That's a disturbing trend, and it highlights the potential for these digital communities to be used for nefarious purposes.
It's almost like the Trump coin is a real-world experiment in digital demagoguery.
That's a provocative way to put it, but I think you're onto something. The Trump Bitcoin phenomenon raises important questions about the evolving nature of power and influence in the digital age. We're seeing how these new technologies can be used to manipulate and control people in ways that were never before possible.
It's like we're living in a science fiction novel, except it's all too real.
Indeed. And the stakes are incredibly high. The future of our democracy may very well depend on our ability to understand and adapt to these new realities.
So what can we do to protect ourselves from being manipulated by these digital forces?
That's a crucial question, and one that we'll delve into further in the final part of our deep dive. But for now, I think it's important to remember that we're not powerless in the face of these challenges.
That's reassuring. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by all of this.
I understand.
Mm.
But we have agency in this digital landscape.
Oh.
We can choose to be critical consumers of information. We can demand greater transparency and accountability from our leaders. And we can work together to create a more just and equitable digital future.
Okay, so we've been digging deep into this whole Trump coin enigma.
Yeah,
The launch the market craziness, the ethical red flags, those wild conspiracy theories.
yeah, it's been quite the deep dive.
It really has. It's a lot to
It
process.
is.
So after all this, what are the key takeaways? What
Well,
should our listener be thinking about as this whole thing unfolds?
well, I think the most important thing to remember is that the Trump coin isn't an isolated incident.
Okay.
It's a symptom of a much larger trend,
Oh, interesting.
the convergence of power, influence, and technology.
Yeah, we see this everywhere, from the dominance of social media giants to the rise of cryptocurrency.
Exactly. It's not just about one former president and his meme coin.
Uh-huh.
It's about how these different forces are coming together in ways we've never seen before.
And that presents both incredible opportunities and significant risks.
It does.
On the one hand, these technologies have the potential to empower individuals and create more decentralized systems.
Right.
But on the other hand, they can also concentrate power in the hands of a few and create new avenues for manipulation and control.
Yeah, that's the big concern, right?
So we need to be aware of both sides of the coin, so to speak. We can't get caught up in the hype and ignore the potential downsides.
Absolutely. Critical thinking is essential.
Right.
We need to be skeptical of simple answers and quick fixes,
Yeah.
and be willing to ask tough questions about how these technologies are being used and who benefits from them.
Okay, so that's takeaway number one. Be aware of this convergence and approach it with a critical eye. What else should we be thinking about?
Well, we can't overlook the ethical implications of all this.
Right.
The Trump coin highlights the potential for conflicts of interest, the abuse of power, the erosion of trust.
Yeah, it's not just about what's legal, but about what's right. It feels like we need a whole new ethical framework for navigating this digital landscape.
I agree. We have to ask ourselves, what values do we want to uphold?
Yeah.
What principles should guide our actions?
Right.
How do we ensure that these new technologies are used for good, not harm?
Right.
These aren't easy questions, but they're crucial to consider.
Absolutely. Ethical considerations are key, and I imagine the need for regulation comes into play here too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The cryptocurrency market, as we've seen, is still largely unregulated.
Right.
That creates a breeding ground for bad actors
Mhm.
and puts individuals at risk.
The whole Trump coin situation shows how murky things can get without clear rules.
Yeah, for sure.
We need those guidelines to ensure responsible use and protect people from being exploited.
Right. And that requires collaboration.
Collaboration.
Governments, industry leaders, and even everyday citizens need to come together to figure out how to regulate this space effectively without stifling innovation.
So we've got ethical frameworks and sensible regulation. What about the role of individuals in all of this? Does the average person have any power to shape how this unfolds?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't just sit back and let these technologies dictate our lives.
Right.
We have a responsibility to be informed, engaged, and vocal about what we want for our digital future.
That's actually pretty empowering. It means we're not just along for the ride. We can steer things in the right direction.
Exactly. We have more power than we realize.
Okay.
We can demand greater transparency and accountability from our leaders,
Mm-hmm.
support organizations pushing for ethical tech development,
Yeah.
and even choose to use platforms and technology that align with our values.
So to sum it all up, be aware of the converging forces at play. Think critically about the ethical implications, advocate for smart regulations, and most importantly, get involved.
Yes, get involved.
Don't just let the future happen to you, help shape it.
Perfectly put. And remember, this is an ongoing conversation.
is.
The Trump coin saga is just one example of the challenges and opportunities we face in this new digital age.
Right.
We need to stay informed, engaged, and adaptable as technology continues to evolve at an unprecedented pace.
Well, it's a brave new world out there, but at least it's never boring.
It's true,
Yeah.
and that's what makes all of this so fascinating.
Yeah.
The Trump coin, as strange as it might seem, gives us a glimpse into the bigger picture.
Mhm.
It helps us understand the dynamics of power, influence, and technology in the 21st century.
Well, I think you've given our listener plenty to ponder.
I hope so.
Okay.
And remember, the key is to stay curious,
Mm-hmm.
stay engaged, and never stop asking questions.
Excellent advice. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the big question lingering is, what does this whole Trump coin phenomenon tell us about the changing landscape of power, influence, and technology? Is this a sign of things to come?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
The answers aren't clear-cut and the future is still unfolding.
Mm.
But one thing is certain. The convergence of politics, finance, technology, and social media is creating a new reality, one that is both exhilarating and terrifying.
Yeah.
How we navigate this new reality will determine the course of our collective future.
Well said. I have a feeling this story is far from over, and we'll be keeping a close eye on how it all unfolds.
Absolutely. The Trump coin saga will likely have ripple effects for years to come, and it's a story that we'll continue to explore as it develops.
To our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We encourage you to keep digging into this topic. There's a wealth of information out there, and it's up to each of us to make sense of it all. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay curious.
And remember, the future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create together.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive for another fascinating exploration of the topics that matter most.